So Snerdcast back at it again,
Hell yeah.
and like always, we got the coolest motherfuckers sparking up the cigarettes. I
Hell
like
yeah.
it. There's just
I'm trying to get that poison in me.
it's just me, Colt Cannon. No,
And we're here to paint a picture of Bob Ross naked.
exactly, bro. No, but thank you so much for being here, bro. Much appreciated.
Always love being here.
doing these with you. So episode 3 of Dexter.
Yeah.
Finally dropped, bro. And I know me and you just watched it. Dude, they finally progressed the story just a little bit.
Yep. Second episode, that wasn't the case because it was more a mild episode. This
It
episode
was more like plot setting and more creating Harrison's character, I feel.
great way to put it. Plot setting. Like they were setting up the plot more and going in depth in character development.
Exactly.
And in this third episode, they did not. This was like an episode of excitement.
So the way they started off was I don't know. The way they started off, they're still doing the search for the Kyle,
rich kid.
The rich kid. I think his name's Kyle. I think, but I could be wrong. But they're doing the search for him.
Well, okay, so Dexter, what it starts off, they're doing the search in front of Dexter's cabin, and then Harrison's like, "Hey, can you take me to school?" And Dexter goes, "Of course. It's not like I've been up all night or anything like that." Basically, in his head, and he goes to walk out, and the cop is like, "Hey, you're one of the last people to see Kyle alive. Can we do an interview?" And Dexter's like, "After I take Harrison to school, I'll show up at the police station."
Exactly. And so when they take Harrison to school, he ends up coming back, and that's when they pretty much they introduced that one dude, the clumsy whatchamacallit,
CSI.
The CSI dude.
Yeah.
Which turns out he's really good.
Yeah, I like him.
Very good.
Yeah, I like him.
Oh, one thing I do want to what you're saying about the Harrison thing.
At school.
Before school.
Oh, yeah.
The coach in the very beginning,
mm-hmm.
he's very chummy
with the kid,
with Harrison, and even in the second episode where they show up at where the kids show up at Dexter's house, and then the kids are like, "Coach, what's up?" And he's like, "Hey, what's up, everybody?" But
it's suspicious. There's definitely characters it feels like this season is building up to on the low that Dexter's going to end up killing.
Or end up like finding out about, or like something. A lot of stuff is going to happen, bro.
Yeah, for sure. Within these next 5 or 6 episodes, it's going to be crazy.
I mean, bro, like, okay. So he ends up taking Harrison to school,
and the principal, they go in, and basically what happens is the principal is. Oh, go on.
Isn't that before or after?
No, it happens twice. He takes him to school, and it's his first day, and he has to do a test to see where he places educationally. And Dexter and Harrison are kind of at odds, and because
at the start of this episode,
at this point, because they're like, he's going to do the test, and the principal's being very judgmental,
very pushy too.
Yeah. She's like, where were you all that time that Harrison was growing up? And it was just very judgmental and not understanding.
I hated that so much.
So did I. I did not
those
like
school
that.
Aspects where it's like they just try to judge you,
and they don't know anything. For all they know, Dexter was fucking saving orca whales in the ocean.
They did bring in that one. I want to correct something. I said that chick was a student that was smoking a cigarette in the last episode when Dexter was just like sitting there in the car. She's seen
the one in front of the car.
Yeah, smoking the cigarette.
It was a joint. It was a joint.
She was the teacher at the school, and she was the one doing the assessment test.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to say. But like you're saying, the teacher's being hella pushy, bro. And the
principal's being like a straight up bitch. So this kid had to survive on his own. Where were you this whole time? And then Dexter, Harrison is, I don't remember what he says, but Harrison's like, "Oh, Jim." And then after that, Harrison goes and does the test, and Dexter goes to the police station.
Oh yeah, so that's when they start questioning him, and that's when when that one dude starts questioning him, the cop, the video verification, and that's when he was like, "Oh no, not video."
And they're using
Dexter like, "I'm caught on video."
And he is caught on video, but it's a thermal camera for hunting. and
Exactly.
it's meant to inspect
track
animals. Yeah, in that area. And luckily it was just thermals, so there's no way to prove it was Dexter.
So they were both. That's when he starts pressing Dexter.
Yeah, but the thing is, this is why this show is so amazing. This is something that I wanted to bring up, that mainly about this interview, not what like leads up to him walking in the room kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
In that moment when he's getting interviewed by the cop in the one-on-one interview, they make it seem like, if you were to watch this, it is very much so filmed in a way that you can tell this was cut up, that they filmed it in a way to where it would make a good trailer for the future episode from episode 2.
True.
And they make it seem
like that.
Yeah, and they make it seem like that the cop is being suspicious of Dexter. And there's moments when the cop's like, what do you make of this, is what he says. He goes, what do you make of this? And it's the thermal footage, and it's like, of Dexter.
You were walking with a gun, you were hunting, and they're like,
no.
hunting license.
Yeah. Exactly. He's like, what were you doing that day? And he goes, I was hiking. And he goes, but you had a gun. And he goes,
I was doing it for protection.
And then they go, so what do you make of this? And they don't know that footage is of Dexter. They go, Dexter working at that hunting shop is like, oh, that's an et cetera gun. And
exactly.
there's about 1,000 of them in a mile radius, a few miles from here. That's the most popular gun that's used. Hence why Dexter uses it.
So at some point they find out they're bringing dogs.
Yeah.
To investigate into the crime scene.
Scenting. Yeah.
And then this is one of my favorite scenes though, is when Deb comes in.
Yeah.
And she the first interaction with him and Deb is the school one.
Yeah, after the first school time.
Yeah. And then she's like, what are we gonna do with the body? And I love when she starts throwing the body parts in the fucking
the wood chipper.
Yeah. And then she starts like fucking like playing around with it and shit. And he's like, what do you I love that part. So real quick about the Deborah stuff. One of the things I like, because she was only in a few of these things, where when she was in the bathroom too, when he was in the bathroom, and she was like, she started pressing him. She's like, what are you gonna do about the body? They're bringing dogs, all that stuff. And he's like, I don't know. Like, I'm gonna do this. And then she pushes his head
against the fucking mirror and puts a gun to his head.
But I don't know if you noticed, she was in a cop uniform.
Oh, I didn't.
She changed uniforms.
Oh,
yeah. And
that's interesting.
What I love too is when they ended their scene, she was like, it's all yours. And he nodded his head. And then when he opened the door, he said, it's all yours to Harrison.
Yeah. I didn't catch that. That's so good. That's such a good catch.
With Dexter and doing this scent tracking and all that stuff. So yeah, he ends up digs up the body, gets the vest.
Before he goes into the investigation, they identify a patch of blood in the snow, and it is for sure Kyle's. The body, and he's throwing the dogs off.
Yeah, he's throwing the dogs off and everything.
And also at the same time, thinking about where to stash the body, which I thought that he put him in the hole, in the fishing hole, which would be the place that makes the most sense.
They showed that he was under the fireplace.
Yeah.
I thought he was under the fireplace literally, but he's in front of the fireplace.
Yeah.
When he was dealing with the body and everything though, that's when they showed the chick. You know what I mean? The chick who was stuck in the whatever house she was. I love that. This is one of my favorite scenes on this whole episode, because they opened the person that was trapped in the hotel, quote unquote. Yeah. It wasn't a hotel, it was definitely a shelter, but they ended up playing some music. They got all dressed up to pretty much assassinate this woman who's coming out of the shelter. Yeah. But I loved it when he started playing the music and then he opened up the door, and then she opened the door, and then the camera angle was just like panning out backwards.
Yes.
And then it showed her run, dude. I got goosebumps because I was like, fuck, dude, this is hope he misses, or either then hope you survive. But at the same time, it was just crazy. It was
brutal.
Yeah, with the music and what was going on, and then the whole environment.
It was super well composed.
Yeah, it was. And so whoever this dude is definitely somebody who kidnapped that last person, Iris.
Yeah, the girl. Yeah,
because I thought
the cops relative,
the Native American lady.
Yeah,
and she what I thought at first is that happened when the cop lady was when they were kids. You know what I mean? But no, this happened at least within the past maybe like 5 years. Like this is pretty recent.
Yeah.
Dexter heard the gunshot. And he's like, I wouldn't want to be prey out here. Hunters wake up early.
I didn't care. I seen the scene, but I was like, what was the gunshot? And I just thought in my head, I was like, oh, it's just hunters. You're fucking right. I didn't put 1 and 2 together.
Also, that gun kind of looked like Dexter's gun, and he was saying it's a Remington type, and there's 100 of them in the like they're it's kind of a normal,
popular gun,
in the city. So
that was brilliant, dude. When from that transition from Dexter leading the scent for the leaving the scent for the dogs, he puts it up trees and shit was so dope, and then to transition into that masked guy in killing that girl. Right, it was fucking super dope. The way
he was out there when that happened. So
these two killers are like literally like what's really cool about this is how I want to point a couple things out before we move on to the next scene. It's really awesome how they chose this environment, and I want to say why, because it's my part B. Because we are in the wild with these native like tribes, right, who worship this like white deer, which we'll talk about later. Like they don't worship it, but they have a lot of love and respect for this deer. I think it's like an albino deer or whatever.
Yeah.
But I love the contrast between there's actually more animals out here than the ones that are being hunted, and it's Dexter and this other killer. And they're actually,
I didn't even think of it like that. That's pretty fucking good.
It's super dope. It's like
analysis.
It's almost like when they wrote this, they were like, we're gonna put 2 wolves from different packs in the same environment.
Oh my!
And I love that. I love that.
I just unplugged my headphones.
I love that. I love that.
That shit is fucking so good.
Dude. And so when you just said the gunshot thing about when he heard the gunshot, I was like, that shit was happening simultaneously. I didn't even fucking
Dexter is kind of okay. So he's kind of he's kind of unconsciously, but simultaneously setting it up for somebody else to be that killer. The rest of the scene with Dexter, like you're saying, he comes back after he's done doing all that stuff. He comes back and picks up Harrison from school, and this is when the teacher's hella judgmental.
Well, no. That happens in the first interview with the first time.
We covered the first interview.
Yeah, I know, but in the second one, she is judgmental in the sense that she thinks Harrison cheated. But no, you're right. And then he goes to the school, and you're right. That teacher's being like kind of a cunt to Harrison and towards Dexter, and Dexter has a moment of a dad fuck up moment where he doesn't defend his son.
He doesn't. But and he's like, "Did you cheat?" And he's like, "No, I didn't cheat." He's like, "Are you accusing me of lying, Jim?" I like that.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, if anybody's lying,
it's you, Jim.
But this is right here when we start to really see
Harrison,
Dexter in Harrison. Yeah. That part of Dexter that he didn't want Harrison to have. But that scene within the office of the second time when they come back and we find out Harrison's actually a genius it's really like a sign of this is for sure my son, and I just didn't defend him.
That was the scene with Deb when it happened in the bathroom. You know what I mean? The scene with Deb, and he was like, "Oh, by the way, I took the test again and I scored higher than I did." And he was like, "Yeah, whatever, cool." And he slammed the door.
Yeah, and he has a bad dad moment, and he's stuck in his own Dexter world
because he's worried about the fucking body and everything.
Yeah, instead of his son.
Let's talk about him going to the Dexter. I mean, let's talk about him going to the mines.
Yeah, and he's looking for. He goes to work, and at work he's just like this the whole time, and the camera does this dope thing where it pans out behind him, and he's actually looking at a map at all the spots where he might be able to hide a body, and he finds a mine, and he goes, "Hey boss," whoever the boss is, the owner of the shop, I can't remember what the name of the shop is, and he goes, "Hey boss, do you think it's cool if I get off early so I can go help with the search?" And the boss is like, "I was actually about to recommend that." And he puts on his snowshoes, he grabs the snow poles, and he goes and finds the mine.
And then when he finds the mine, he almost falls down this huge hole.
Yep.
Which he finds a bear.
A bear on accident.
CGI, the most worst, one of the most more better Showtime CGI bears. But yeah,
not great.
But then he finds out he has to go to dinner with
and when he's running out, he's fucking wigging out because he's like, this bear's gonna kill me. And then he gets out, and then his phone rings, and they're like, hey, and the cop lady.
From there, it'd be a good transition to go to Harrison. The start of this episode, obviously with Harrison, goes to school, do all that stuff. He takes the test.
Yep.
But then he ends up seeing Zach and the other dude, his homie.
The popular kids, right?
The popular kids. They're like, oh, are you taking classes yet? And they're like, oh, no. He's like, oh, no, I'm just taking a placement test. And
that's right.
He finds out where they're texting one of the kids.
The nerdy kids who's like a quote unquote one of the
anime
losers.
Guys.
Yeah, or a loser because the way he's treated. He's a nerd. After the placement test, Harrison's a genius, right? And then in the school, he finds out that Zach, one of the popular kids, is acting like a girl over the phone, like literally pretending he's catfishing him. That's what he says too.
Yeah.
And he goes up to that kid and he's like, hey, that girl you've been talking to is actually that little fruity fuck over there. I have an idea. And
let's fuck with them. And then he makes a stupid fucking
the meme of him humping the deer.
Bestiality gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then as that fucking popular kid approaches him, as Zach approaches him, then we see Dexter's son. And he grabs that kid by the throat and fucking slams him into the thing, all because he didn't like him responding.
Yeah, but if you watch that scene again, Zach goes to punches the nerdy kid.
Yeah.
And then that's when
he's like,
Dexter comes in. And
no, so, Harrison.
Yeah, my bad. Dexter comes, he's like, what are you doing in my high school?
And kills him.
No, but you're right. When Harrison comes in and like choke slams him, and he's like, if you don't stop fucking with this dude, I'm going to do this to you every day. Fucking day.
Yeah, it was lit. It made me really like Harrison. But
and he threw the homie aside, and then he threw the fucking dude.
He literally slams his homie in, and he slams Zach in, and his homie walks up, and he's like, "Are you sure you want something?"
He's like, "Do something," pretty much.
Yeah, like do something, Brad.
The chick comes in.
Yeah.
The what's her name?
The girl, the future
cop's
girlfriend.
daughter.
Yeah, there you go, cop's daughter.
She comes in, and then she's like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "Oh, nothing's going on. Oh, everything's okay." So Harrison and the cop's daughter leaves.
Yeah, and he turns around and he's like, "Hey, by the way, I sucked the coach's dick, and now I'm on the wrestling team."
But yeah, he's on the wrestling team. And he's like, "I see you on the mat.
I'll see you on the mat, just like Coach did to me a second ago."
Right. Oh man.
But and then this, I'm glad you brought that up
with the chick and Harrison.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because now I want to answer who I think that killer is. That guy who stops. So let me just, before I get ahead of myself, Harrison and the girl are driving, having a moment, and the car breaks down. And it turns out the girl's very mechanically inclined. She knows how to work on a car. And she goes, take my phone, go up the street to where there's better service, and say you need this part of this size and come back. Harrison leaves, and this guy pulls up, and he's one of the guys
from at the end of the
protest.
First episode.
And he's also the guy at the protest or whatever. And
the billionaire guy.
Yeah, and he's like, and he pulls up and he goes, yeah, and he's like, hey, do you need help? And she goes, not from somebody who pollutes the environment or whatever like that. I think he's the killer.
I think he is too, but I think it's something else. Like I think there's something.
There's like a twist.
So let's continue the Harrison story.
Yeah.
So yeah, I believe that dude doing something crazy, but with Harrison, he comes back, and they call someone to pick him up. And they're going to get dinner.
Meat. They're going to get spicy meatballs.
A spicy meatball. Spicy Italian meat. Sausages.
Extra
it's
spicy
not meatballs. It's fucking sausage.
They're making some. What did she say? You're making some goulash or whatever.
And then that's when they figure out about the white deer.
Yeah.
And so they make a pact with the
local tribe.
The Native American tribe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Damien, I think we talked about it a little bit earlier, but we didn't acknowledge him really too much. Damon, whatever, the CSI guy.
Yeah.
And he was spot on. He was perfect. But what was funny is he was.
I like him a lot. Yeah, he was rambunctious.
Clumsy.
Yeah, I like him because he was very flamboyant. Isn't the right word? He was very charismatic.
He was.
Yeah, and I like that.
Charismatic to a fault where it's just like, hey, how's it going, everybody? Oops, you just drop like your wallet and like all your fucking like money and everything.
All your equipment.
Yeah, exactly.
So he may end up being the killer.
He's making everybody laugh, and then both his shoes fall off.
For the record, he may end up being the killer because that's how this show has gone. I don't think so. I'm just saying that's how this show has gone in the past with like. I
think he might end up being killed.
Ooh,
I don't know because
who knows?
He might. We may not ever see him again. But he did.
No, he's a character.
Everything that happened.
He's a character. He's gonna
or not. He did very. 100%.
He did well. He did great.
Predict what happened.
Yeah.
Coagulated blood was different from the human and the elk blood.
Yeah.
Mixed it, found it, and then he also knew which person came from which angle.
Yeah, which was cool, which was awesome. What's awesome, and I want to while we're talking about
the Rock though.
Before you say that, I want to bring up another point to prove what I said earlier as evidence.
Talking about Dwayne Johnson. I'm just kidding. Well,
sorry. He's just in the back. No, but I want to point this out about what I said earlier. How much of this season is giving odes to the previous season with previous popular characters? This character, this CSI, I don't know if you agree or not, because I haven't asked this, but his meticulous eye for detail is very similar to Dexter's when he was a blood spatter analyst. It's like he doesn't miss a thing.
Yeah. And then even Dexter acknowledges he's like, oh, I've been very rusty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's right. In his head, he's like, oh, I got rusty. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I think that kid ends up shooting up the school or trying to kill Zach, and Harrison is a big part of that. The nerd kid that Harrison saves with the choke to the Zach FaceTimes him, and he's like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that I thought it was totally badass what you did today because I've always really wanted to hurt Zach. Can I show you some pictures? And Harrison's like, yeah, intrigue me.
They're pretty violent pictures.
And they're pictures of the nerd killing these jocks. And not pretty much. They are fucking
over the top. Yeah.
Over the top, like
heads getting cut off. Fucking
and then the end
holes
scene,
in stomachs.
And Harrison's like, what, are you supposed to be the Punisher? And he goes, he's like, what if I was, these fools would never fuck with me again.
They're like, they'd be petrified. They'd never fuck with me again. Yeah.
I think that there's going to be a school murder scene or a city violence scene. And the reason that I think that, not just because of that scene, I think this show is trying to tie in relevant things happening in 2020 and 2021 by doing that. And I'm there for it. I love it. If that happens and Harrison ends up being affected by it and Dexter has a moment of my fucking son is in danger, what? And it's probably going to happen in the middle of a kill. And like, so I'm just curious if you kind of like got that same vibe that kid is going to have a moment.
He's definitely going to have some kind of like weird shit going on.
And he probably thinks that Harrison's on the same wavelength.
They explain the podcaster chick, which she only appears a couple times, so she'll probably be more important, but obviously she's going to be the one probably doing some live stream shit or whatever.
And in the beginning of the episode, and in the beginning of the episode, for anybody watching, she's the Asian, Japanese, or Chinese. I can't tell like ethnicity, but she goes and meets up with Dexter's girlfriend and is like, "Oh, I'm just here to volunteer." First, the cop lady goes, "Wait, she was at the crime scene," and the daughter is like, "Are you serious? That's one of the biggest crime podcasters in the world." And Dexter
has over a million followers on Instagram.
Yeah, and she shows everybody at the dinner table, and Dexter goes, wait, let me see that again. She was in my shop. And two things happened at that scene.
Let's hear it, bro. This is what I would want to hear, bro. Come on.
So I'll say the less interesting one that I haven't said yet, not the one that I've told you yet, and it's quick. One, Dexter has a moment of, I am absolutely in love with this. I have a family again, and I don't want to fuck this up. And he's realizing
classic
Dexter, like with Rita. The ode to the old seasons. This show is doing justice to the old seasons, for the record.
Yeah.
He has a moment of, I love this. I'm sitting here with my son and my girlfriend and her daughter, and it's like we are all one person, and it's just like how it used to be. Awesome. The second thing happens where, now let's go back to what I said about, oh, that's one of the biggest podcasters in the true crime stories world on YouTube. The daughter says that when she sees the picture of the Asian girl, right?
Yeah.
She goes, oh, I love true crime. And Harrison's like, me too, basically. He goes, oh, me too. I love this. And he goes, I've studied a few things and yada, 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 which Harrison's past is still very much so a mystery. We don't know how he knows Kung Fu or anything like that.
He's very intelligent, though. That's for sure.
And he's very smart. He's very much so Dexter's kid. Well, I have a top 5, my favorite true crime stories, right?
Yeah.
She says that. The daughter goes, I have my top 5 of my favorite true crime stories. Yeah. And she goes, I'll share it with you sometimes. So let's pause for a second. I think the Bay Harbor Butcher is on that top 5.
So,
but the big thing that I wanted to say that you were excited about was, I think, 2 things. I think that in the cop girls, Dexter's girlfriend's daughters, top 5 true crime stories. And I didn't tell you the second one. I just told you that I think one of the top 5 is going to be the Bay Harbor Butcher, aka Dexter. I think the second one is going to be the ice truck killer. And I think that a third one, and not in any specific order, will be Trinity. That's 5. That's 3 of 5 of victims that Dexter has claimed.
What about also Tom Hanks' son?
Oh yeah, the Doomsday Killer.
Yeah.
So maybe the top 5. Dude, what is the top 5? So let me bounce some. So we have for sure 3 that it could be. This is hypothetically to everybody listening. So I think for sure that on that top 5, maybe everybody else is wrong, but I think Dexter's Bay Harbor Butcher is on there. Ice Truck Killer could be one. Trinity B could be one. Doomsday. And what about the Brain Surgeon? Oh man, there's a
lot of them they could use because they're all from Florida. So
yeah, like it's like all I know is like they really set this show up for success no matter the ender. But one thing I'll say is I think that you're 100% right about one thing for sure. I think that with the characters we're being introduced to, the guy in the kidnaps the native police officers, that girl.
Yeah.
And then the scene from the girl from the shelter and this kid, the nerd who is actually turns out is probably going to be a school shooter or something, Harrison and all of that. I think that this all ties into Dexter having a hero moment. Like you said, have to be like you said.
Which by the way, we also forgot to mention just a couple things before we end this. The dude who shot the girl, he started embalming her.
Yeah, he was embalming her for sure. Like for sure.
So I'm sure he's keeping people he's probably took over the years as trophies and stuff. Or I'm sure these two, girl and the girl before.
Do you remember when Dexter was? Oh, wait.
The Native American people were all like questioning her, like, oh
yeah, like
so why aren't the chick, the girl cop was definitely a cop.
I don't remember her name, but she went missing.
That's definitely when she went missing. Yeah,
bro. Oh, dude, that's crazy. So
that's why they're all like fucking pissed at her. Like, oh, when it's a white man.
Yeah, you're all about hunting for it, but when it's one of our people, it gets swept under the rug. Yeah. And
it's going to be heavy this episode, and I think that might be another thing that helps Dexter a lot.
So I have a what if. Do you remember when they were debating on it rewind back to when Deborah and Dexter are in the truck and they're trying to figure out where to hide this fucking body of this rich, spoiled asshole. And they're like, well, what about a wood chipper? And we see that scene.
Yeah.
And Dexter says, what about the cemetery? And then we got that scene where he was embalming that girl. Yeah. What if whoever is the killer works at that cemetery Dexter brought up?
It could be right, bro.
It could be. That's just a what if. But like I said, I think that one thing we can for sure predict is that either episode 4 or episode 5, we are going to get a fucking massively crazy set of events.
we're gonna get a lot of it. But just so at the end of the episode, though, we seen the dad, the rich dad of the
All
son
fucked
who
up.
died.
All fucked up.
But he also was like, "Oh, my son called me and everything." And Dexter was
And
like, "Why would he lie?" So
not only did he call, the drunk guy's like, he FaceTimed me. And Dexter's like, why would he lie? Because I know he's dead.
So he's either, So something's weird going on, bro.
Yeah, I think you're right about what you said earlier. I think that the rich dad and this case and that case, and with them being in such a small town, there's a link going on that we just haven't been revealed yet. This show does one thing every season when it comes to the big bad wolf, right? The big bad killer. And that is that early in the season, we've always had a glance at who the real killer is, but we didn't know it was the killer. So now that you say what you just said, I'm like, I wonder if in one of the episodes of 1 through 3 with season 9, if we got a glimpse of who this is.
That's how all the greatest shows do, bro. You get a glimpse, just maybe like a hit of somebody in the first episode, and then
like, I mean, the ice truck killer with Deborah, Trinity in the beginning, he wasn't sure about. Who else was it? The Doomsday Killer. We thought it was 2 killers. It ended up being just 1. This season has really just like done a fan service.
Exactly, man. But
and episode 3, by episode 3, for if anybody hasn't watched yet, the character development is fantastic. And I'm really like, this is how I know the show is good. When I'm equally as excited to have fan theory moments. And that makes it's amazing.
So, thank you so much for being here. Hey, really appreciate it.
Anybody listening, please drop your your theories for what you think the case is and where this season's going in the comments down below. Like, what do you guys think is going to happen? Who is the killer in embalming the body? And also, do you think Harrison's hiding stuff? Me and him do. And then on top of it, do you think that nerd kid ends up shooting up the school?
Like I said, you guys be safe. Happy holidays. More Dexter coming soon. More Dexter reviews. You guys be safe. Love y'all. Yep. And happy holidays.
Hey.
Ooh, controversial Snerdcast.